Hello, my name's Suzanne. I'm an actor, teacher, storyteller. And today I've got three shortish stories for you. The first one is from China, and you might recognize this story. It's very similar to one that's quite often told, but it's a bit different too. So once upon a time, there was a young man, and he had a baby, and the baby was still in the cradle. Of course, he had a wife, and he had his old father, the grandfather, was living with them. Now, the grandfather was very old and not much good for anything anymore, except shuffling about and eating and smoking. And the young man decided it was time for him to go. He said, "Father, it's time for you to leave. Take the broad road for it." Oh, the old man was very surprised. And the wife was most upset. She said, "Oh, no, you can't let him go." But the young man was adamant. And she said, "Well, at least give him a blanket when he leaves." "No, no, no. I'm just going to give him half a blanket. He doesn't need a whole blanket." The wife was really insistent. "Oh, very well. I'll give him a whole blanket when he goes." But they heard this little voice out of the cradle, and it said, "Father, Father, just give him half a blanket and keep the other half safely, for I will need something to send off when you leave, to send with you. Keep that half a blanket." Well, that was the end of it. That little voice came from a cradle where the baby was too young to speak. So the young man would have none of it. He wasn't going to let his father leave. And the family stayed together. My second story today is from the writer, who I'm afraid is no longer with us, the English comedian Terry Jones. This is a dear little story, and I really love this story, and I do tell it quite a lot. I think it's good for children, and it's good for grown-ups too. So it was a very, very grey day, and out of the darkest and biggest and greyest cloud fell a very big and a very round raindrop. And that raindrop took a good look at itself, and it said, "My, but I'm a very big and a very round and a very beautiful raindrop. I must be the best raindrop in the whole sky." Well, there was a raindrop on the other side of the big round raindrop, and that raindrop took a look at the big round raindrop and said, "You are very big, and you're very round, and you are beautiful, but I am very shapely, and therefore I am the best raindrop in the whole sky." "I don't think so. I think I am the best raindrop, and I'm going to ask this raindrop on the other side of me, and we'll make the decision once and for all who is the best." So the big round raindrop asked the raindrop on the other side, and the raindrop on the other side said, "You are very big and very round, and that other raindrop is very shapely. But everybody knows that it's purity that counts, and I am very, very pure. Therefore, I am the best raindrop in the whole sky." Well, before either of the other two raindrops could make any sort of reply, all three of them hit the ground and became part of a very muddy puddle. And my last story for today is from a collection of Jane Yolen's, which is, I think, folktales from around the world. And this story is called Truth. And I guess I've embellished it a bit, so it's not going to be exactly the same way as it is in the written word. Anyway, once upon a time, there was a young man who had been a beautiful bouncing baby and a lovely young boy, and he was very good-natured and very active and very good at school. And as he grew older, he started his own business, and he had a girlfriend he'd had for a long time, and she made him a really good wife. And they had 2 little boys, and they were very happy. But this young man was becoming more and more troubled, more and more worried, more and more feeling as though he'd missed something perhaps. And he felt that he really needed to find truth. He really needed to search. He really needed that he couldn't do what he needed to do in his present situation at home with his family. And his wife, being the understanding woman that she was, said, "All right, dear, certainly, we understand. We'll be waiting for you. You go and do what you need to do." That's the way I tell it. Some storytellers say, the wife said, "Okay, dear, if once you've signed everything over to me, you can go and do what you like." But I like the thought of her waiting and caring and loving. So off he goes, and he searches in big cities, tiny towns. He searches in, hamlets. He searches in the wilderness. He searches in deserts. He searches in riverbeds. He searches on craggy old mountain sides where finally he finds truth, living high, high up in a little cave and a craggy old mountain side. And Truth was a very wizened up old lady. She had one of those really bent over backs, and she had a tiny little walking stick that she had, because she was reaching down so much, so bent over. And the young man was so happy to meet her. And she was so happy to meet him. And she said that he could stay with her for a year and a day, and she would teach him everything she knew about truth. Well, he was delighted, and he did everything he could to help her around the place, to improve things a bit and make them more comfortable for her. And they had a marvelous time chatting in the evenings by the fireside. And the year and the day just went by like that. And it was time for the young man to leave, and he'd packed up his rucksack and he was all ready, and they were both very sad, and they had tears coming down their cheeks and tears in the crevices of her wizened up face. And they gave each other a hug and a peck on each cheek. And the young man started down the mountainside as carefully as he could, because it was quite dangerous. And he hadn't been gone for any time at all when Truth lifted up her little walking stick and uprighted herself and said, "Sonny, come back. Sonny, come back, come back." Oh, back he came as fast as he could. "Yes, Truth, yes. Why did you call me back? What is it?" And Truth said,
"If anybody asks you about me, if anybody asks you about truth, tell them that I'm young and beautiful."
There you go. And that's the story of Truth.